Before I call, well, I'd like to call the meeting to order, but before we hear the cases, Mr. Torriano would like to introduce our new planner, so if you will give me your attention.
Madam Chair, thanks, members of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Jim Torriano, I'm the Executive Director for Putnam County Planning and Development Services. And I have the distinct honor today to introduce and recognize our new Senior Manager for Planning and Zoning is Mr. Gabriel Quintus. He's sitting over here to my right, to your left. I did mention, I think before, that we were in the process of selecting a new candidate as Mr. Brown departed and went to Clay County. So we're excited that he started on Monday. He hails from, or at least of recently, from Titusville. We're excited to have him. He really brings a new aspect to our organization. We're excited to see new things and a new set of eyes looking at processes. And so we're excited for everything that Gabriel brings with him and through his leadership and all. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Gabriel Quintus. Gabriel?
Is it on? Okay.
Yep.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to introduce myself. I started my planning career in the city of Jacksonville and worked for a county in Georgia afterwards for a number of years, and most recently worked as a senior planner for the city of Titusville. And I'm very excited to start my new position here and look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
And Madam Chair, that truly fulfills at where we are this time. We're at full staff. So we're looking for the budget year for additional staff. We're seeing more and more work that's coming in. So there's some things that we're moving forward with, through a request standpoint, but we are fully staffed. And we have Miss Jenny Kidd that is now this is going to be her first meeting, I guess, Nancy, at the helm. And of course, we have Miss Nancy Brown. You all have met Miss Wendy Hickey in the past. She is our senior planner. And then we have Miss Pam Washington is our permitting, or should I say, zoning technician also. So our house is full. We're excited about that, and we're moving forward. So there's no other questions or anything else that I may help Madam Chair, you or the zoning board on any issues that you may have or any questions that you may have of me before I turn the meeting back over to you?
Do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, I will read the guidelines that we use in order to conduct the meeting today. This is a public hearing, and we are the Zoning Board of Adjustments for Putnam County, Florida. We operate under the authority of Articles 11 and 12 of the Land Development Code as amended. The primary responsibility of the board is to hear and decide appeals challenging final determinations made by the Planning and Development Services Department under the Land Development Code, and to hear and act upon requests for variances, special use permits, non-conforming use determinations, and preliminary development plans under the Land Development Code. A variance is a relaxation of the requirements of the zoning code in a particular case where, because of unusual circumstances, a literal enforcement of our zoning code would result in undue or unnecessary hardship. The zoning code permits us to authorize variances for height, size of structure, size of yards, and open spaces. If we grant a variance, we may impose reasonable conditions on the use of the property, which must be satisfied if the variance is to remain valid. The standards we use in deciding whether or not to grant a variance are listed in Section 9.04.03 of the Land Development Code. We do not have a special use permit request today, so that section I will skip. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of the staff will then briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will then take any comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments or statements to the board and not to other people in the audience. Before speaking, we will ask each person to be recognized, come forward to the lectern, and identify his or herself by name and address. After all persons wishing to speak have been heard, we will entertain a motion from the board. This motion will be voted on by the board members and become our final order. Any decision made by this board can be appealed to the circuit court. However, any appeal must be filed within 30 days after the Board of Adjustments has rendered the final order which is being appealed. Are there any questions? Before the first case is heard today, all of those wishing to speak will need to be sworn in. So will the notary please administer the oath?
I'm Nancy Brown, I'm mayor of the state of Florida, and here to administer your oath. All persons wishing to speak for or against any item before the board today, please stand and be sworn. Raise your right hand. Anybody else
Nobody else is going to speak today?
speaking to the applicant?
You, the applicant, and is the applicant here for the second case?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give is the truth and the truth and nothing but the truth? Your sworn name is Hickey.
Okay, the first case today is Variance 21-002.
Wendy Hickey, Planning and Development Services. This application is, the applicant's name is Melissa Coleman at 4083 Silver Lake Drive, Palatka. It's a 4.18 acre agriculture zoned future land use urban reserve, allowing for the presentation of a fence, height of 4 feet in the front and 6 feet on the sides and the rear. The applicant originally applied for an administrative variance to extend the height of the fence in the front yard setback to 4 feet in the front and 6 feet on the sides and the rear. During the review, it was found that on a double frontage lot, that the front and rear side yard setbacks are equal. The administrative variance process allows for only 2 foot maximum height approval from the maximum 3 foot maximum height within the front yard setback and was withdrawn. The applicant hired a contractor that has since installed the fence. The contractor did not inform the applicant of the issue of the fence height within the front rear yard setbacks, nor the fence orientation requirement of finished side to the abutting lots to the right-of-way. In addition, the fence was installed encroaching into the Height Loop Road right-of-way. The encroachment will be removed after the board's determination. This is the future land use map of the property, the zoning, and of course the aerial. The variance criteria, the special conditions and circumstances exist which are particular to the land, structure, or building involved, or the proposed development design utilizes innovative planning and design, which will result in a better development and will be an asset to the community. Staff analysis. The applicant hired a contractor to install the fence with the expectation that the fence would meet the requirements of the ordinance governing fences. The fence is to serve as a requirement for swimming pool safety and to keep her sheep safe. She's green belted by the property appraiser's office. There are no current site issues with the fence and will be moved out of the right-of-way because unfortunately there is a portion that encroaches into the right-of-way, which will lessen any potential site issues. Staff believes that this requirement has been met. The special conditions and circumstances described in the paragraph do not result from failure on the applicant's part to follow applicable county, state, or federal land use regulations. The applicant hired a professional fence installer to construct the fence. Staff believes this criteria has been met. Granting the variance request will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this code to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. Most people in the residential and agricultural zoning districts can have a fence around their backyard. The applicant has a relatively unique issue because of her lot extending in the back to the next street. Her property is located on the outside of where the street curves to the south. Staff believes there's no issue with health or safety, so this criteria also has been met. The literal interpretation of the provision of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of the rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of this code and would place unnecessary and undue hardship on the applicant. As noted in previous criteria, The majority of the properties in Putnam County can have a 6-foot privacy fence within the entire rear yard, and there are no health or safety issues associated with this request. Staff finds the applicant has met this criteria. Granting the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this ordinance, and such variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare or interest. The fence will not be out of character with the surrounding properties. Staff finds the applicant has met this criteria. And then, finally, the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. The fence provides room for the sheep to roam, safety, and for privacy for the applicant. Staff finds the applicant has met this criteria. In conclusion, staff finds that the requested variance meets the 6 criteria found in section 9.04.03A of the Land Development Code and recommends approval of the requested variance, subject to moving the section of the rear fence out of the right-of-way. I don't believe the applicant is here for questions, but
I guess you're it.
if I can answer anything, I'm available.
Okay, the fence has not been moved yet, correct?
No. We were waiting for your determination so that this way, if it had to be completely removed, changed substantially, it would be all done in one section, at
Okay,
one time.
normally that fence height on Hyatt Loop Road would be 4 feet high and not 6 feet? Since it's on a road frontage?
That would have been the required because it is a street front, correct?
Okay, and there's another issue that, as far as the sheep, I didn't see any sheep on that property today. I mean, I don't know, because that was one of the reasons for having the fence that high was that there was, sheep on the property. I know there may have been sheep there previously, but I didn't see any sheep today.
Well, I can attest that when I placed the sign, I did see sheep and I thought a Shetland pony.
Okay.
That were roaming in that front yard, the one on Silver Lake.
Okay. All right, I also have sort of a question on, as far as granting the variance when the harmony, as far as the construction of the fence. Is there no permitting process for a contractor when he's building a fence to go with a permit, or it can be done without any rules, regulations?
At this point, we do not issue fence permits.
Permits, okay, so you can put up a fence anywhere you want to put up a fences, and nobody's going to say anything unless you're brought up for codes enforcement or something. That's interesting. Okay, all right, so if we grant this variance, that the back fence, we're hoping that, from the standpoint of your report, you said to be required to move it twice. So with that, rather than moving it prior to this meeting, then you were going to wait for this meeting to
The
decide
portion that is.
what was going to be
That
done.
has been found to be in the right-of-way.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam
Well,
Chair.
I think even in the right-of-way, you'd have to move it anyway.
Oh, yes, no, but if you decided that it was too high and that they had to change out the fence because it wasn't approved.
Right, okay.
And so that this way, when the work was being done for that situation, they would happen at the same time.
Okay, one more question on my half, and then I'll let somebody else talk. The presentation of the fence, there's a section that I guess the plain side or the nicer side is.
The finished side
Finished
out.
side is
Correct.
facing into the property, and the posts you can see are facing out. Is that not an issue?
That's part of it where it says presentation.
Okay. So there's a possibility of that section, which is also the 6-foot high fence in the back, or it's on the side, the presentation could be required to be turned around. Okay.
They are asking for it to remain as is.
As is.
So any partial changes that you may make, either for presentation or, allow for height, but yet not for presentation, you can always change change the motion accordingly.
Accordingly, and add that as a condition.
Up to you.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Mr. Gilroy?
Yes. My question is, we are talking about the fence as you come down Pike Loop Road. On the right-hand side, wooden fence? Was that it? Okay, because I just, it just didn't seem, it seemed like it had a pretty good setback to me, as I recall. But that's the easement that far back?
As far as I am aware.
Any other questions for staff?
No, I had the same question he did. I thought it was.
This was a good way, yeah.
Set back.
Unless the road goes like this and then around, that's the only thing I could figure, just, that was a long ways back to being part of an easement.
Okay, no more questions from staff? Okay, like you said, I don't think the applicant is here, so I guess we will entertain the ones who wish to speak. Is
Madam
it?
Chairman?
I'm sorry, okay. Are you speaking on behalf of the applicant?
I was just going to clarify some of the points.
Well, were you sworn in?
No.
Okay, then you need to be sworn in before we can entertain your information.
What's your name?
John Thursby.
John Thursby. Raise your right hand. Swear to testify that you tell the truth, yourself, and the record.
I did.
First one. Thank you.
Okay, are you speaking in favor or against?
In favor.
All right, what's your okay, go ahead and come up to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name
I'm
is
sorry.
John Thursby. I live at
Thursby?
Thursby. My address is 18210 Northeast 148th Terrace Road in Fort McCoy, Florida. And I'm a pool contractor, and I've been contacted by Mrs. Coleman to put a pool in her backyard. That's when I became aware of this, and I apologize for not speaking out and filling out the form previously, but I think there's some clarification required, and that's why I asked to speak, if it's okay.
You can speak in favor of the application.
Okay. Well, the fence, as I saw it on Hyatt Loop, is outside of her boundary and was at least 20 feet outside off of her property. The fence has been put, but markers were found, the rear monuments, concrete monuments, as per a survey that I procured, has been moved back to the property line. It is 6 foot high, and yes, she does have a child in need at home. So if that helps clarify it, good. If it doesn't, then I'm open for, if you had any questions of me.
Okay, you are saying right now that that fence has been moved out of the right-of-way onto her property line?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And I physically found the markers. It was surveyed by a local surveyor, Stephen Speaks, and I found the markers. She previously did have it way into the right-of-way, without a doubt.
When was the fence removed and put in the correct place?
About 2 weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
Is it-
Has staff been notified that this correction has been made?
Ma'am?
I said, has staff been notified that this correction has been made?
And I don't think I mentioned it, but I may have to Mary. I'm not sure.
Mary, who's Mary?
In code enforcement.
Oh,
Is there a
but to mention it and not have it verified or documentation, we're assuming that what you say is correct, and
Yes, ma'am. Well, I was aware of the variance request as per Mrs. Coleman gave, and I I knew that it was into the right-of-way, and I showed her it was into the right-of-way. And I knew that you guys were going to be reviewing the request to get it out of the right-of-way. So that's why it was moved.
Okay.
I have a question. Is code enforcement involved in this at all?
Oh, that's what this was all about. Because code enforcement was called out because the fence was in the right-of-way, basically. And the only way I found out about it is I applied for a swimming pool permit for me to put a pool in, and the permit was ready for me to be picked up, and then the guys in the building department said, no, we got to hold up. We had a code violation on the property. I understand if, I can't pick up my permit, which is ready, until, it's been ready since December.
So do you have your permit, your building permit in hand?
I don't. No, I can't be issued until this code violation is resolved.
But somebody was working there today.
Ma'am?
I said someone was working at the property today.
Yes, ma'am, I was over there.
Okay.
I was over there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how do we resolve this? Because it's a I said, you said, we said, somebody needs, and codes enforcement needs to release that order as far as codes enforcement is concerned.
Well, all I was trying to do was clarify that the fence has been moved to the property line. That's all I was trying to do.
I understand that, and I appreciate your input, but something has got to be, as far as official paperwork, completed, and codes enforcement needs to go out and say, okay, this has been done, we will release it, and you can continue with building your pool.
Yes, ma'am. I understand. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm real confused. Okay. Someone has an autistic child.
That's,
That's
Okay.
this property.
Okay, this property, right. Okay, we need a fence because we have sheep. Now we need a fence because we're getting a pool. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't know how, because I guess because
The pool is noted in the report, that
Right.
it was for pool safety, the pool safety, and the sheep were the focal point of the justification. And, but if we were unaware, well, at least I was unaware of any code enforcement issue or any change in the fence at this point. So I don't know if we want to,
how can we handle this from, we have an attorney here that can advise us as to how we can proceed. Do we table it?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'll defer to you, sir, if that's all right.
Yes, sir.
Your mic's not on.
I would agree with that, Madam Chair. I would
Okay.
table it until they can provide documentation that shows that it's no longer an issue and that the variance is moot at this point. But would you be all right with that, sir? Can you provide documentation showing that the fence has been moved?
I can. I would request code enforcement to come out and look. That's what I would.
We need to speak into the microphone so we can get it on recording. Turn this way, okay.
Yeah,
speak.
that would be, is that the verification you'd like, sir?
Mr.
Sir, if you would speak into the microphone.
Speak into the mic, please.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I would request that code enforcement come out and verify that the fence is out of the property right away.
And I think it would be best for the applicant to provide that documentation. If you could provide a site plan or a survey showing that the fence has since been removed, that would be suitable.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay,
And
we
do
have
we want
another
me to-
question.
No, I don't have a question, I just have this, I thought all we were looking at was the height and the presentation of the fence, not where it was.
But it has to be moved because it's on the right-of-way.
But all we're looking at is the height and the presentation.
but,
That's what was in the packet.
We aren't looking at that other part of it.
excuse me.
It did say encroachment.
There is an encroachment, yes, but in addition, that rear, even if the fence is moved, it still would need a variance for height because it is above the maximum height for a street yard, front yard fence. So even if it's moved off of the right-of-way, a variance, no matter what, would still be required for the height to remain, and of course, the presentation. So we still have two items that are still outstanding that would still require a variance approval.
Mr. Theobald?
Just to be clear, so the height and the presentation and where the fence are those all three are issues? And you're saying that the fence, that we've already addressed where the fence is?
Yes, sir?
And so now, of course, we'd want to make sure that we have validation that that's actually happened, but coming before us today, had the fence not been moved, could we still move forward and say, okay, the fence needs to be moved, but it could also be this height and this presentation?
That was actually going to be, that was what was before you right now, was that the height, the presentation, and that we were making them take it out of the right-of-way after, if the height was, if you were approving the height.
So I feel like we could approve this and still say, just do all these things, and it sounds like one of those things has already been handled, but we'd need proof of it, correct?
Because if he moved it just to the property line, again, it would still be too tall.
Right.
From the right-of-way.
And the code violation needs to be cleared up before we can move forward, correct?
Who can verify if this, because of, I guess when you were putting in, or starting to put in the pool, that the fence came into be an issue? And so codes violation, are they involved? Codes enforcement? Who knows?
Unfortunately, I am not aware of a code enforcement issue.
Right. And I don't know that that makes a difference, but part of it is that it was on the right-of-way, and it was going to have to be moved one way or the other.
Absolutely.
And so the presentation and moving it, it still is going to either be moved, and we can, make the height 4 feet, or we can leave it at 6 feet, the way it is now. But I don't know. I think it needs
One other.
another address. Okay, Mr. Fisher.
One other thing, in the past, we have had stipulation on certain things, like that guy that had the dump and didn't have any way of fueling, and that was passed with the stipulation that he put in a pad for fueling. I mean, can't we do the same thing here, as far as with the stipulation that they move the fence and it can be checked later?
Mr. Perry, would you like to address that?
Madam Chair, all I really have to offer is this. This is a procedural matter, and it does, Ms. Brown just mentioned that there is a code issue. I wasn't aware of the code issue. But for this board, what is, as Mr. Theobald mentioned, what is in front of this board is here in your packet. That can be dealt with. Now, of course, code enforcement will have to come out and take care of the rest of it. But as far as the duties of this board, you can address this issue. However, it will have to be dealt with by code enforcement sometime in the very near future. But it doesn't really affect what you do here today on this issue.
On the presentation and the height of the fence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just what's before you, as Mr. Theobald pointed out.
Okay,
Clear as mud.
there's mud. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have one other speaker wishing to come forward, Vera Marks. Would you come forward and give us your name and address for the record?
My name is Vera Marks. I live at 122 Hyatt Loop Road. Ms. Coleman has put up the fence. I don't have a problem with the fence. I have a problem where it's at and the height of it. First of all, she put it in my driveway, saying it was her property. Well, it's not. We got it moved out of the property 2 weeks later. They did set back the property on Hyatt Loop Road. It is set back. They did that a couple weeks ago. But right now, the fence on my property is turned backwards. Also, the way the property comes at the point where it comes in from Hyatt Loop Road, and my property is right here. Well, when I go out my driveway, I don't have visibility. It's a safety hazard. I've had at least one incident where someone almost hit each other. So I think the fence needs to go to 4 feet, and the fence needs to be turned around. The sheep were fine before the 6-foot fence. They'll be fine now.
Okay.
It's been going on since October. So,
According to your thing, you're in opposition to the variance. This is what you checked on your
yes.
speaker card? Okay.
Yes, as far as the height goes, and I'd like my visibility going in and out of my driveway. It's a safety hazard. This was explained to her. She was showed the property lines. I showed them to her. Mr. Speak showed them to her, and she chose to ignore them.
Okay.
She doesn't listen well.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You
Madam
understand
Chairman.
what I'm saying?
Yes, no, I'm sorry. We have a question?
On the, where you say the fence is on your property and in your line of sight,
It's in my line of sight.
okay?
It's off my property
It's
now.
off your property line, it's in your line of sight coming onto Hyatt Loop Road?
Coming out of my driveway and into my driveway.
Okay, well, I'm asking you on Hyatt Loop Road, your driveway's on Hyatt Loop Road,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, it
Okay, it
abuts
is on
it.
it is on the west side, I'm assuming, of the fence? When you come into Hyatt Loop Road, it's on the far end?
Yes.
Okay, so you come out and your home is on Hyatt Loop Road, or does it face Silver Lake Drive like?
Hot Loop Road.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand in my vision, in my mind, I mean, I don't have a picture in front of me, so do you have a picture?
Isn't there a street named right after, as you, no, maybe it's just your driveway at the end of the fence. It's just a driveway then.
Yes, it's my driveway abuts Hot Loop Road.
Right, okay, I know where you are.
It goes all the way, you know,
You sort of in the curve.
it's
sort
in
of.
the curve, and we bought the access property to get into the driveway when we purchased the home. It was already there. It was in with the house. And the marker, it's like this. I got 14 and a half feet this way, 29 and a half feet this way or something like that for the driveway. Then it goes next to Ford's property. And this little thing jets out, and the way they built the house and did, the way we come in, go to the carport, it curves around like an S. And when we go out, you can't see until you get the car halfway out the road.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
okay, yes, go ahead.
may I ask her if this is her house?
Sure. All right, we have,
Takes me a minute, yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Ratliff is asking the, Mrs. Marks about presentation of her house on the map. Is there a map that we can pull up today to see?
I don't know about this
Okay, our discussion needs, Mary, our discussion needs to be to where we can get it recorded. So she verified that that's her house?
Yes, she
Okay.
verifies that that is her house, yes. The one that's,
It's very hard to look even on that, it's an aerial view more or less.
There's a bunch of
That,
trees.
I think,
this one is the best one, because you can see.
I believe
the
that's
house.
it, but you can't see it very good on this computer.
Unless you can blow it up.
Didn't bring any dynamite with me.
No, I'd make the picture bigger. Okay, no, it's not, it's still there.
Yeah, it's too hard.
And this.
I mean, I know what she's talking about because, I made the site visit, so if you will look, I think on the map, this map. where
We
it
don't
has
all have
Hyatt
that in
Loop
front of
Road,
us.
And it has Hyatt Road and then Hyatt Loop.
Right. Well, the reason I'm questioning this is just the way, and I don't know how to say what I'm saying without probably making what's your name, ma'am?
Vera Marks, M-A-R-X.
Without making Ms. Marks a little agitated with me though.
I've been agitated before.
When you come in there, it's just, I'm just trying to figure, because I went today, so I have a very fresh memory of what's out there. And I mean, the way that the setback is on this fence is, I didn't see, and the way the road comes around, I mean, I didn't see a hazard there myself. And that's the reason I'm trying to understand what you're asking.
Well, once you go out in the car, because I back up and go around. That's the way most people do it. I've had them stop in the road and park in the road and walk up to my house. They don't see it, which is no big deal, I guess. I don't know. All I know is when I go out my driveway and my friends go out the driveway, there's been a couple of incidences where people have had to stop suddenly
Since the setback.
since she put the fence up.
Okay, well, I'm saying I mean.
No, the part on Hyatt Loop Road doesn't affect my visibility. It's where it comes down to my property and my monument. My monument is here, and my property goes at an angle here. It's that little corner right there. When you go around, you can't see until you get halfway out my driveway. That's when you see somebody coming.
Madam Chair,
Okay, Mr. Balaji.
the part that you're talking about between your house and her house, that's the side yard. That's allowed to be 6 foot tall.
I don't
It's
have
the
a problem with
stuff
that.
in the back.
I don't have a problem with that. But where my driveway is,
Speaking to the mic, please, ma'am.
where my driveway is, she could cut that off to 4 feet.
You're
And I could
basically
see.
visibility on the height of the 6-foot fence.
No, what I'm
Yeah.
saying though is,
Not the height, she can't see over 4 feet.
the height coming down her side yard is allowed to be 6 foot.
Correct.
We were talking about making her cut it off on the rear to 4 foot. This part here that's blocking your view would still be there. Would there be a way to maybe put that corner in and chain link so she can see through? I mean, I don't want to create a problem.
Well, the lady spent a fortune on that fence, okay? If she would just cut that little corner off, it will work. I think it would work.
No, ma'am, they probably
Because it's
would
gonna
work.
be-
Cut that corner off, but back it up with chain link so it'd still be 6 foot high for her sheep, her kid, all that, but you still have your view.
And that would take away her privacy.
Yeah.
I mean, it would sort of look like it was hodgepodge together. If
Yeah,
you
it
have a
would.
part of a chain.
Where are the other places around here?
Okay, I'm not sure that we're gonna,
I don't know what to tell you, other than it is, I do not have my visibility, which is, according to code enforcement, I need visibility going in and out of my driveway. The fence I'm supposed to have the finished side on my property side facing it's not.
that's the presentation part that's part of our
Exactly.
packet today. The height and the
If she
presentation.
will cut that corner down, I don't care about the height on Hyatt Loop Road. It doesn't affect me per se, because it's set back enough now where it's not an issue. It's just right there on that corner where the tree thing is. There's trees.
There's a big tall tree there in that corner.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
there's one right after it too. But
Right.
she had the wire fence on the inside of it. I didn't have a problem. Didn't bother me at all. But I do not have my visibility, and I think I need it. Whether you agree or not, I don't know.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
I sort of got ahead of myself because Mrs. Marks was speaking in opposition. So at this time, I will ask if there's anybody else wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this application. Okay, no one is coming forward. Anyone else wishing to come forward and speak in opposition? Okay, no one's coming forward. So I guess at this time, we close it to the public and open it up for,
Do site visits.
oh, I'm sorry, thank you very much, Mr. West. Site visits before we vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Earl Valentine,
Yes.
Mark Fisher,
Yes.
Linda Osborne,
Yes.
Mary Ratliff,
Yes.
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 Ed Killebrew, yes.
Say you didn't ask. Mr. Killebrew. Okay, I guess it's up to the board. To see what they want to do.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve variance 21-002 as it meets the criteria for a variance that was required by section 90403 of the Putnam County Land Development Code, with the condition that the part of the fence that is not turned around to the finished side be turned around. I don't know, doesn't seem to be a condition in the packet.
It's not, so, yeah.
But the fence be turned around according to code to where the finished side is facing out, and authorize the chairman to sign the final order.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve variance 21-002. Any further discussion? If not, all of those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? Motion carries 6-1. Since the applicant is not here, somebody needs to inform Mrs. Coleman that there's a 30-day appeal process, and I do hope you guys straighten out the codes enforcement thing. Okay? Okay, the next one is VN 21-001. Are you presenting again, Wendy? Okay.
Wendy Hickey, Planning and Development Services, Putnam County. The applicant for this project is East Palatka Dry Storage LLC. The location is 327 South Highway 17, East Palatka. The parcel size is 4.04 acres. The zoning district is Commercial General, C3, and the future land use is Urban Service. The request is for a 25-foot reduction of the front yard setback from 35 feet to 10 feet. The applicant is currently in the final stages of obtaining permits from both the state and the county to establish a multi-million-dollar boat storage marina on this particular property. The future land use map, as you can see, is here, zoning, and the aerial. The special conditions and the circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved. Our proposed development design utilize innovative planning and design which will result in a better development and will be an asset to the community. Due to soil conditions near the river, the open rack boat storage needed to be moved forward for footer stability. The parking of boats is typically allowed within the setback. The rack system will hold 3 levels of boats and will be approximately 30 feet in height. Staff has determined that this request should be taken through, had told them that they should take this through the variance process. Staff finds that this criteria has been met. The special conditions and circumstances described in the previous paragraph do not result from the failure on the applicant's part to follow applicable county, state, or federal land use regulations and building codes. The applicant has worked with the Department of Environmental Protection, St. Johns River Water Management District, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Florida Department of Transportation on this site plan for this project, and of course with Putnam County. Staff finds that this criteria has been met. Granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this code to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. The parking of boats and other motor vehicles is allowed in the required front yard setback by the Land Development Code. The rack structure will be 15 feet in width and 30 feet in height, and approximately 20-plus feet off of the south property line. Staff finds that this criteria has been met. The literal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of the rights commonly enjoyed by other properties within the same zoning district under the terms of this code and would place unnecessary and undue hardship on the applicant. The soil conditions and design on the project have forced the rack structure to be pushed into the front yard setback. There is no health or safety or general welfare issues with the proposed location. Mobile home dealers in that general area have homes set within the front yard setbacks. Staff finds the applicant has met this criteria. Granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the ordinance, and such variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare or interest. This project will have a significant positive impact on this part of South US Highway 17 and will likely encourage more high-end uses in the future. It will be in harmony with the surrounding uses. Staff finds this applicant has met this criteria. The variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. As depicted on the site plan, the requested variance is the minimum necessary to adequately develop the dry boat storage marina. Staff finds that the applicant has met this criteria. In conclusion, staff finds that the requested variance to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 10 feet as requested meets the 6 criteria found in section 9.04.03 of the Land Development Code and recommends approval of the requested variance subject to the following: obtain all permits and approvals required by the state, from state and federal and Putnam County prior to development of the site.
Do we have any questions from staff?
Yes.
Okay.
This building, when you go out there, the road's up here and it kind of drops off into the property. And it's mowed, all this swell is mowed or whatever. At the end of where they mowed, is that where the property starts?
The property starts, I believe, right around where that fence is.
Right, where there was a fence or
Yeah,
part of a fence and all that.
there's a portion of
Yeah, that's
fence.
just about where they quit mowing. And we're talking about going back another 10 feet and putting up a 30-foot building.
It's not a building. It's actually a rack, so you can actually see through it.
Okay, there's not going to be an end on it.
It should be open-ended, I think.
Open, yeah.
Yeah, open.
Yeah.
I do have, if you would like, I do have full-size plans of the proposed rack for if you would like to see
No, that's fine.
structural plans.
My other question is, I can understand the ground not being solid enough down by the river to put something like this up. Is it going to be solid enough to put something in there where they're going to have a big piece of equipment to come down and pick a boat up out of the water and take it up here and slide it in this rack? It's going to have to hold quite a bit of weight there.
Unfortunately, I'm going to defer to the applicant because they have a little bit more background in the boat storage and how this will be working for that.
We can get them to come up in a minute, not
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir, you need to wait just a minute, and we will get you to answer that question in a moment.
With the site plan, there are multiple buildings and other structures within that property beyond this rack.
But there's only one boat rack.
There's only one boat rack, but there's buildings that will house boats also.
Okay. And that-
Any other
that's fine.
questions?
No,
Any other questions? None? Okay, before we proceed, let me not forget, let's do site visit roll call.
Why not?
Yes.
Yes.
Mark Fisher,
Yes.
Linda Osborne,
Yes.
Mary Ratliff,
Yes.
Joe Theobald,
Yes.
Ron West.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I have no name associated with this application, but it's East Palaca Dry Storage LLC. So who is the representative today? Come forward and give us your name and address for the record.
Michael Buemi, Buemi Engineering, 975 Arthur Moore Drive, Green Coast Springs. I'm the civil engineer for the project. I just wanted to point out a couple things real quick, make sure we understand. The structure has no walls. It has no roof. Now, we do have a different, two other much larger structures that are fully covered, except for the inside where they have to remove the boats, take them in and out. The structure that we're talking about is only 15 feet wide. And that only covers about 3% of our total frontage of the property. So we have a large number, very expensive foundation for this entire piece of property, cast piles for everything because of the weight of the equipment that can move the boats and the weight of the boats themselves. So you're talking about having to carry 100,000 pounds on the big boats with the structure. So right now, we just, from a feasibility standpoint, the client's looking at spending several $1 million on this project, and we just really needed that extra boat storage to make the numbers work. But I'll be happy to answer any other technical questions.
Any questions?
How big a boats do you plan on handling?
The boats can be up to 35 or 40 feet long.
Madam
The
Chair.
racks are adjustable where they can take the smaller ones as well.
Seen them all over.
Okay, I think Mr. Killaroo.
Just to answer the question that was asked a while ago, the ability to bring the boats down to the water and everything like that, will this be like most boat storages where the tow motor, for lack of use of, or lack of knowledge of what that thing's called, where that goes into the rack and picks the motor boats up and comes down? Would this be one of those that comes to a bearing wall that goes to the river and it has the ability to go down past that, or would you be coming into the water? Or?
Right, on the plan itself, we have a very expensive and highly stout relief slab that is flat. So the property has a lot of slope to it. Everything up aboard where the boats are, it's going to be relatively flat. We'll have a section of a fairly steep drop. We can only go so steep though with the boats being safe on the equipment. And then we have like a 40 by 40 relief slab that's got deep piles to support the weight. And then we have some dredging on the other side of that where the boats can have enough draft to drop in and out.
Are they like forks that would pick up the boat, or is it
Yes.
like you would use whenever you take a sailboat out of the water?
Well, it's a large forklift.
Forklift, okay, so
basically.
it's-
But
it'd be
it's
forks.
large.
Yeah.
It itself weighs about 80,000 pounds. So we have a very expensive foundation plan there to carry this kind of weight.
Okay. Mr. Theobald, I think, had a question.
You said it was 15 feet wide?
The
Hard time picturing.
depth of the structure itself, yeah, it's 15 feet from front to back. That's the size of the structure. And the boats there obviously will be a little bit longer than that, but that's the physical size of the structure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
One other question. This thing that's gonna pick them up, now I've seen them, they go in, the forklift goes in, picks the boat up, brings it out. You're gonna take it down to the water, but is that forklift gonna be able to go down below the bulkhead to get it in the water?
Yes, sir, it's a special design that's got enough
Okay.
drop where it can take it down to the proper depth,
All right,
which makes it a pretty expensive piece of equipment, but that's what it takes.
I've never seen
Because
one.
we have to get, our top of, our drop there is going to be at least 10 feet.
All right.
All right, Mr. Killaroo has another question for you.
This is more of a nosy question than it is anything else. Is this property tied in with the old Captain Joe's project? I mean, is this all the same project or a different project? Okay, thank you.
Different project.
Any other questions?
I'll be more than happy to answer questions.
Okay. I guess
Thank you
that's
so
all.
much.
Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, is there anyone else wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this application? What? Oh. No one's coming forward. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak in opposition? Okay, at this time, since no one else is going to speak today, we'll close it to the public and open it up for board discussion and motion. Everybody speak at one time.
Madam Chair, when I find my sheet,
Okay?
I move we approve variance VN 21-001 as it meets the criteria for a variance as required by section 9.04.03 of the Putnam County Land Development Code, with the conditions as recommended by staff and authorize the chairman to sign the final order.
Second it.
Okay, we have, third.
I think Mary got the second.
Mary, did you get the second?
Yes, I did.
I'll break the tie, second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve variance VN 21-001. Further discussion? If not, all of those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay, all opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, good luck on your endeavor. There is a 30-day appeal process, but since you're on here by yourself today, I doubt seriously anybody's gonna complain, but we never know.
Anybody wants to dump $7 million into Palaca?
Yeah. Bring all your money to Palaca. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes for February 17th, 2021. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve. Any discussion? Mr. Killebrew? Okay, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign. Motion carries 7-0. Do we have any other new business? I would just like to thank you for my name tag.
Yeah.
Does this
Okay.
give you any privileges?
I will soon
Not
find
get
out.
shot while you're looking at the property.
Yeah.
I'll
not to be
shoot back.
shot. Okay, I guess we, motion to adjourn.
So
Madam Chair, I'd
moved.
like to welcome the new people that we have
Absolutely.
in the county.
Oh, yeah, well,
It's good to have new people move into the county,
I know, it's what
and we hope that you have a lot of success in your job, and that we grow. That's what we need.
okay, then I guess we stand adjourned. All right, see you next month, maybe?
Can I ask you a question?